Hello there, everybody. This is the first one of these that I've done. It is not being broadcast live. It's only being broadcast to people who've bought tickets. And the idea of that is so that people who actually bought tickets to it can ask me questions in the live chat. Didn't have a very big turnout for this, but I'm expecting a dozen or so of you, so that will be good. And the purpose of this is to try and help share some of the wisdom I've acquired over the 25 years I've been working with estate agents into how to navigate a downturn. Excuse me. When I finish this, I will be publishing it and putting it out to all agents to watch the recording of it afterwards. So this is live for the benefit of people who've got tickets. And then later on, I'll be publishing it for any other agents who'd like to watch it. But in the meantime, if you're watching this live, you can say hi to me in the YouTube comments. Please do. If you've got any questions as we go along in the YouTube comments, please just ask me the questions right there if you want to. If you've got questions you want to ask me privately afterwards, just contact me privately. I'll put the details in at the end of this presentation. But in the next hour, I'll just run you through a presentation, and I want to keep it easy and relaxed. And you might want to have a pen and paper and take a few notes, but I do think that I've got something that can help people. Hi, Tina. And anyone else that wants to come in and say hi, please do say hi in the comments. But let me just, without further ado, get stuck into this because it's important stuff. So right now, there are some estate agents in February 2023 who are experiencing really extremely difficult trading conditions and far worse than they expected or anticipated. And there are some agents who are not sure if they're going to be able to survive, whether they're going to have to pack it in or not. And I'm here to help those of you who are worried about that affecting you and wondering what you can do about it. And there is something that you can do about it that massively improves your chances of coming out of this housing market downturn unscathed and actually stronger for the future. I want to start by doing this. I want to start by reminding all agents that after 25 years of working with you guys, one of the things that I can tell you is almost certainly true is that almost all of you, including some of the best ones, underestimate the value of what you do to your customers. I know you think it's difficult. I know you think it's important. I know you think it is worth more, but I truly think that you get so caught up in the day-to-day routine of doing your job that you actually sometimes lose sight of just how important it is for someone who needs to move home. Okay. And the difference between an agent that does their job well and one that doesn't is you get someone moved on to the next stage of their life when they're probably up against very, very difficult challenges to do that. So that is why on the Moving Home with Charlie channel, whilst I may come across as critical of some agency conduct, I am the biggest supporter and fan of what estate agents do, why it's valuable, why it's important, why you should charge more, because you cannot do a good job if you're not charging a proper fee. And with that in mind, so with my deeply held respect for all agents, anyone who makes a living as an estate agent has my respect. Even though I'm public about saying some of you could do it better, I'm here to help those of you who want to do it better or who are looking for any ideas that you can to improve. So let's just get into this. My name is Charlie Lamdin. I'm the founder of Best Agent, and I've been working as a supplier of technology and marketing services to residential estate agents since the year 1999, 2000. Okay. And I've had clients going from countrywide, national clients, down to one-man bands working from their mum's bedroom and everything in between. Small independents, large independents, regional agencies, national agencies, all over the country. And there's very little that I haven't seen. I've also had a lot of involvement with property portals along the way, spent a lot of time in the offices of some of the big portals and the tech companies. I'm a CRM provider to estate agents and have been for over 20 years. I've designed and released 3 CRM systems. And so I understand the nitty gritty of the processes that agents go through far better than most people realize. And a lot of my long-term estate agency clients have told me that they think I understand estate agency better than anyone who's never been an estate agent. So by all means, tell me if you disagree. But without further ado, I want to get into this. The purpose of this video is to help agents who are worried about surviving figure out what they can do to improve their chances and do it. The suggestions I'm going to come up with in this video are all things that any agent can do. They don't require any money, they don't require any technology. It's just you and your business. All right. So let me crack into it. The questions we're going to be answering are: how bad could 2023 be and why? It's very important to actually quantify what you're up against. Which agents should and which agents shouldn't quit? It's a mathematical certainty that there are some agents that are going to be forced out of the industry this year. And if you're right on the borderline of those, there are people who, when they do the exercise I'm going to go through here, might look at it and go, you know what, there's absolutely no chance. Maybe you started too recently or something. And if you are one of those, it's better to recognize that early and get out, rather than just keep on going and hope for the best and end up wishing you quit sooner. What is the secret of survival? I'll be answering that question for you. What immediate steps can you take? And sorry, my camera's in place. And what is the golden rule to follow? Okay, I haven't got this all from memory, but that's what we're going to go through. Okay, so these are just hopefully conversational questions, which I'll go through. Now, some people find me very negative in my outlook, but I'm not. I'm actually just a realist. There's no point in making a plan if you're too optimistic about the future, because your plan will fail. It's as simple as that. A plan that is too optimistic will fail. It's a definition. Okay, so I'm all about positivity, but positivity when you have a plan. And if you have a plan, you've got to make a plan with the grasp of reality and what's happening out there. Okay, so this is why I'm putting here: be positive, but have a plan. Because positivity without a plan is just hope. And hope is not a strategy. Hope is what you have when everything else has failed. Hope is the last thing you've got before failure. All right. So I want to help you come up with a plan, which you can then be positive about, a realistic plan. So how bad will 2023 be? Well, there are three things to discuss here. Number one, what are transaction volumes going to do? Number two, how aggressive are your competitors going to be at trying to increase market share in order to help minimize their own downturn? That's number two. And number three, what is the risk of the increased chance of chains collapsing to your business? Okay, so number one, transaction volumes. Number two, corporate competition, or all competition, but especially corporates. And number three, fall-through rates. Are fall-through rates going to go up? Those are the three things that are all very realistic things that anyone should expect going into 2023. Okay, HMRC is already reporting transaction volumes dropping. We already know from reports left, right, and center that there's a standoff between sellers and buyers. Sellers are being unrealistic and buyers won't pay up. So we know that transactions are harder to come by. We also know that larger companies with deeper pockets tend to get much more aggressive about increasing market share in these times. And if you don't respond to that, that is also going to make the downturn in transactions for you even worse. And then number three, which to me is arguably the biggest threat, is the increase in fall-throughs. Because when you've got a deal that you've tied up, think about how much time and effort you've put into tying up that deal. For that deal to fall through costs you more than anything else. That's how bad I think 2023 is going to be. It's going to be the worst year for estate agents and the moving industry for probably since 2008. So we're talking 15 years. Okay. And guys, that's not even opinion. That's verifiable. It's verifiable. It's just common sense. So given that that is the case, how do you decide whether or not you should quit or stick it out? Okay, this is a really, really big decision. It's a massive life decision. It's a terrifying decision. It's a high stress situation if you're at the moment just wondering what's going to happen and how you're going to survive. And so the first step that you can take is to actually do the numbers and work out whether or not you think you have a chance of surviving once you've factored in the calculations of what you're expecting. And when you're making a decision on this, what you have to do is you have to consider the likely worst case scenario and whether or not you can withstand that. And when you've calculated your worst case scenario, if you realize that that's not something that you can financially survive, the sooner you realize that, the better. Because otherwise you're going to go on plowing good money after bad when the end is inevitable for you. If based on your own assumptions, you're not going to survive. So that's why this exercise is essential. It's painful. It's a bit frightening, but actually, if you know what you're up against, your chances of survival immediately improve because you know exactly how hard the mountain you've got to climb is. All right. And if you're making your plan based on the worst case scenario, and it's not the worst case scenario, then life will be better than you planned for, which is great. And there are agents who will end up having a better year than they planned for because they've done this exercise. Okay. And these are techniques that I've learned not only from other estate agents, but other businesses. This is what you do to get through the tough times. So let me quickly run you through how you work out whether or not you can survive. So I'm going to give you some example numbers, which I will, after this, I will share with anyone who wants them. I haven't got them on screen for you, but just roughly speaking, I've worked this out on an average fee of £2,000 plus VAT, so 2,400 including VAT, just for the ease of calculation. And if you were an agent who beforehand was doing, let's say, one sale per week, now you might be a freelance, you might be a self-employed agent working for a franchise brand, you might be a one-man band working for yourself, you might be the branch manager. So please obviously adjust these figures to your situation as makes sense. But these are the scenarios that I'm assuming for a self-employed franchisee or self-employed agent working under another brand, to figure out whether or not it's time to stay or time to go. If you're working in a job and you're a salaried position, again, if a large part of your income is based on commission, you may well be able to apply this, but with your own numbers, okay? So I've worked out that an agent who was doing one sale a week at an average fee of £2,000 plus VAT a year was turning over £100,000 plus VAT. Now, what you've got to work is, don't start with that figure and go, well, that's my income. It's not your income, okay? Because you've got to take out your franchise fee, you've got to take out your direct marketing cost of that instruction, and you've got to take out the VAT as well, of course. And so on £2,000, I've worked out that, let's say your franchise fee, or the commission you have to pay to your brand or your supplier of whatever systems that you're using, let's say it's 20%. Okay, round number, just plucked out of the air, it's £400. And let's say your marketing costs, for the drone footage and the video you want to get made and the brochure or the photographs, the floor plan, EPC, that kind of stuff. Let's say that costs you £200. So you've got a £600 direct out-of-pocket cost out of that £2,000 fee, leaving you with £1,400 as your income. All right. And if you do 50 of those a year, one a week, that's your income is £70,000 after your out-of-pocket expenses, but before your fixed overheads. Okay, so that's your gross income is 70 grand before your fixed overhead. Now, if you've then got fixed overheads of, let's say, £2,000 a month, maybe you've got to pay a monthly subscription for things. Maybe you've got your car to run and whatever other things, but it comes to about insurances, all that kind of stuff. Let's say that comes to £2,000 a month. That means that £24,000 a year. So out of your 70 grand gross income, that leaves you currently with take-home money of £46,000 in that scenario that I'm describing, okay? So that's the scenario that we're comparing with. You were actually earning 46 grand after all of your VAT and your franchise fees, your commissions, your overheads taken out, 46 grand. Now, what happens if your completed transactions fall by 50%? Let's say that the combined effect of transactions coming down, increased corporate competition, and increased fall-throughs means that you end up only doing one transaction every 2 weeks instead of one transaction every week. Again, just for the ease of calculation. Okay. Now, what I've worked out is that with all the same figures based on the average fee, but with the fixed overhead, you end up, your actual take-home income ends up dropping from 46 grand to 11 grand. Okay. So that is a sort of 75% roughly fall in your take-home money. So a 50% fall in your deals, assuming that your fee stays the same, and actually translates into a 75% fall in your take-home income. Now, suddenly you're thinking, okay, shit, 50% deals gone does not mean 50% down on my income. It's worse than that if you've got fixed overheads. Now, what I also worked out, and I'll come on to this a bit more in more detail later, and it's why I made the point at the beginning about not undervaluing yourself and making sure you charge enough, is that if you're going to do half as many transactions, but you're able to put your fee up by 50%. So let's say you go up from 1% plus VAT to 1.5% plus VAT, then even with a 50% drop in deals, you would still take home 36 grand with all the other figures being the same. So that would only be a sort of 25% drop in between that. So 15% drop in your income. Okay. So even with a 50% fall in your income, in your deal numbers, with a 50% fall in your deal numbers, you might be able to get away with just a 20% fall in your income if you put your fees up. Okay, I'm going to come on to more about that later. But you must know your metrics, and I can't do that for you. I would be very happy to help anyone individually if they wanted to, but you must know your metrics. And the metric you must know is, what is your income per deal after you've taken the out-of-pocket expenses? And after you've taken out your overheads, what is your income? Okay, that's one metric. What is your average fee is another metric. And you've got to figure out what you need to change in order to survive on the number of transactions you expect to get this year. I know this is scary, guys. I know this is scary, but these are the sort of numbers I think we need to be looking at. So on to the next section of this. The single most valuable piece of advice I ever heard from an estate agent was from a client of mine who was actually in Australia. His name was John McGrath. He was the founder of McGrath Estate Agents in Sydney that became the equivalent of for the Foxtons of Sydney. And he's well known as the most successful estate agent in the Southern Hemisphere. He was a client of mine for a long time. We became very good friends. And I took John to a seminar in London when he was visiting at the Property Finder before it became Zoopla. And he stood up and he had a room full of estate agents, and he opened up saying, there are two ways in business that you can spend your time. Number one, doing stuff that makes you money. And number two, everything else. And he said, the secret to success in business, any business, but especially estate agency, is understand that point. What activities, what use of your time is stuff that actually increases your income and what isn't. And you need to focus your time as much as possible on the stuff that is, and we're going to drill into that in a bit. And you must outsource or delegate or stop doing stuff that doesn't make you money. Now, that might be a harder thing to work out than you think, but the point is this. Every minute of your time is a golden drop of opportunity dripping away like a tap that you can never get back. Your time is your income opportunity and your earning opportunity. And it's all you've got to sell, right? Your skill, your local knowledge, your customer service is all delivered through your time. And you have got to become a ferocious protector of your time. And you've got to cut out anything and everything that is not high value tasks. And if there are low value tasks that you can't cut out, you've got to see if there's someone else that can do them for you. All right? Because the biggest mistake I see estate agents making is thinking that a minute is a minute and an hour is an hour, whatever you're doing. Oh, and that call only took 5 minutes. But a call to a potential client that takes 10 minutes and a call to a potential applicant that takes 10 minutes are things of unequal value, right? So a phone call is not a phone call. One phone call has 10 times or 100 times the value of another phone call. And you've got to start figuring that out. One email that you're answering is a lot lower value use of your time than another email. So are you doing your emails and your phone calls in order of the ones that are most valuable first? And I will come on to that as well, because there is a golden secret that massively improves the productivity of your time without any extra effort or time. Yeah. So you need to ferociously protect your time from things and people that waste it. And if you don't develop that skill, your survival is not within your control. If you cannot control and this is incredibly difficult in the estate agency. I mean, I have seen, and I have spent years and years and years in estate agents' offices all around the country, and I've seen just how hard it is to focus on anything for more than a few minutes without an interruption of some kind. Okay? But just remember that every single minute of your time is a drop of opportunity that's gone forever. Okay? And so you must protect it and nurture it. You can lose money and you can get money back. You can borrow money. You can get investment. You can steal money. I'm joking, obviously, but you know what I'm saying. Money is something that you can go out and get more of it. Time, no, you can't. Okay. And that's why time is infinitely more valuable than money. And one of the biggest time wasters that I see a lot of agents not addressing is a bad client, an unrealistic seller, right? That is one of the most expensive wastes of your time and money and reputation, and your morale as well, okay? A bad client is the worst killer of your time than anything, because they're a client you think, oh, I have to give them my time. And you've got a demanding client that rings you up all the time, being totally unreasonable and has unfair expectations of you. You need to get rid of them. You need to get rid of them. And I'll come on later to exactly how you can go about doing that. Okay. Toxic customers are just the death of any business. But in this particular market where your survival may be at stake, you cannot allow toxic clients to destroy your time and take those golden drops of opportunity away from you. Let them be someone else's problem. Okay. So it is my very strongly held opinion, after decades of working with estate agents and witnessing this in motion, that the fewer different activities you're engaged in, the better you will do those activities. Okay. Now, there is a story. Oh, by the way, really important. Going back to confronting the brutal facts. Forgive me here. I need to go back and cover this because I can't believe I missed it. Confronting brutal facts. So there is a guy called Jim Collins, and I have linked to this in the description below the video, to a video where it talks about this changed my life. Okay, so this particular piece of advice changed my business life totally. I will always put it down as the single biggest business lesson I ever learned. That's why there's a link to it in the presentation that I'll send you guys later. There's also a link to it in the description below the video, and I'd like you to check that out so that you understand what I mean about confronting the brutal facts when you do your plan. It helps you avoid the mistake of being a bit too optimistic and therefore come up with a plan that fails. Okay, so now where do we get to? I want to tell you a story very quickly because it makes this point beautifully. Some of you may remember that Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, eventually got fired from Apple by the executives who he hired to help run it. They fired him. He was the founder and the chief executive, and they fired him. And over the next few years, Apple tanked. They started to do more products come out, more product lines, and they were just not very good quality, and there was too much. And they were weeks away from bankruptcy. I think they had 3 months left. I think they were 3 months away from bankruptcy when they finally gave in, and they brought Steve Jobs back into Apple to run it. And Steve Jobs turned Apple around from 3 months away from bankruptcy to the biggest company in the world using this strategy, which is he stripped out, I think he stripped out something like 80 or 90% of all the products that they were working on at the time. He said, no, we're stopping all of that. Stop. We're going to focus on these 4 things and nothing else. And we're going to be the best in the world at them. Now, a lot of estate agents that I've seen get distracted and tempted away by, additional revenue here and additional revenue there and little extras and referral fees and that kind of stuff. And I am telling you, and it might sound counterintuitive, but I'm telling you that time spent on trying to sell clients on little extras will kill you in this market. It will kill you in this market. What you've got to do is increase your fee and focus on raising your level of service so much that not only do you get a lot more properties sold, but your customers are so grateful and so impressed that they become your number one source of new business. You will have more time to do a better job. You will get a better fee for it, and you'll get more recommendations off the back of it, and therefore have to spend less time on marketing and lead gen that everybody hates anyway. So you need to simplify and focus on your speciality. Now, it might be that you're taking on two different kinds of instructions. Simplify, focus on just the ones that you are the best at selling. But I know that especially there are some big agencies who they've got like a whole basket of additional revenue add-ons. It's a distraction. Unless you've got something where it just happens automatically and it takes up zero of your time, and I really mean zero of your time, then fine. If it costs you no time and it doesn't deviate you from your service and it doesn't rely on you making a recommendation that you don't believe in, for example, recommending a conveyancer that gives you a really big referral fee when actually you know that they're not that good. I mean, that is such a false economy, right? I think this is Connells. Now, Connells is the biggest estate agency in the country by far. It's their biggest mistake is how much they rely on referral income from conveyancing and from mortgages, because they lose track of what's most important about being an estate agent, which is getting the deals done, getting more properties sold, and giving clients a better experience. And I think that ultimately they'd be much more profitable if they just focused on being a higher fee, more professional outcome than just a, hey, we'll list anything because we'll just list it because then we can sell you stuff. We can sell you surveying and conveyancing and mortgages. And even if we don't sell your house, it doesn't really matter because we make money out of you anyway, right? Especially if you're someone whose time is already spread too thin, right? And I don't know any agent that isn't in that situation. Just strip out everything that isn't your core focus and strength and skill. Strip it out. Stop it. Don't do it if it takes your time, okay? But put your fees up. I'll come on to that again a bit later. So by simplifying, I think that you can actually multiply the value of your time, okay? So those golden drops of opportunity that you're spending are actually earning you much more value. They're getting you short-term value as well, and they're getting you long-term value. Let me explain what I mean. So number one, the more time you spend focusing on a deal, on a transaction, on progressing it, holding it together, the fewer of your deals will fall through. And therefore, you will immediately make more money by focusing more on deal progression and holding chains together. Okay, that number one thing. Okay, number two, you will have to win fewer instructions if your fall through rate drops. Think how much time that will save you. Okay, you won't need to be going out hunting for as much new business if you're holding your pipeline together better. Number three, you can charge a higher fee when you're doing a better job. It's just a simple truth, right? There are agents out there charging 2%. Why? Because they give such good service that there are customers willing to pay for it. These are normally customers who've learned the hard way that cheap estate agents is a terrible idea and a massive false economy. Okay, so you get multiple payback by focusing on your core job, which is getting your clients' properties sold or let. All right, so simplification. Focus on what you're really good at. Your fee income will go up, your fall through rate will drop, and your referrals from very, very happy customers who will be so pleased and grateful that you got their deal over the line against all odds that they will tell their friends about you and say, so-and-so is the only agent to use in this town. And that's what you want. Okay. You get money, you get business coming in from people who've recommended you, costs you none of your time. That's just, think about how much effort and time and money you spend on trying to generate new business, when the best kind of business is the ones comes to you referred, and they're not even going to try and chip you on the fee because they've been recommended how good you are. Okay, guys. So anyone got any questions so far? Please, I know there's a few of you watching, so please put your questions down. If you've got any challenges or questions, don't be shy. Put your questions down. Thank you, Tina. On to the next one. Now, this is the last slide, and only half an hour through. I've left some time for questions at the end, but this is the slide I'm probably going to spend the most time on, because if the only thing I get across to you is this slide, if you only take one thing away from this, I want it to be this one here, this one here. Pricing of everything is everything. Now, I came up with that phrase today when putting this presentation together for this video. The pricing of your instructions, okay, at valuation, and once you actually launch it to the market. We'll come back to that. The pricing of your fee, and the pricing of everything you're spending money on. You address all four of those ruthlessly, and you will transform your life. You will not only be making more money for the same amount of work, you will have more time to yourself as well. And this one step is what will improve your chances of survival better than any other. Now, let me just go through those things that I just said. Number one, how to win an instruction without needing to overvalue. And by the way, I know this works in, okay, not only because I know the agents that do it, I've seen agents that do it, but there's the video on the Moving Home with Charlie channel called Seller Secretly Films 11 Estate Agents. And the agent that won the instruction didn't give a valuation at the valuation appointment, at the marketing appraisal, right? Didn't give one. What they said was, this is how I will go about making certain we get the best price in this market, whatever that may be. Okay. Now, if you're an agent who knows how to do that, you'll understand what I mean. And you'll think, oh, wow, that makes sense. That's great. I can do that. If you're an agent that doesn't understand how to go about getting the very best price in a given market, then that's something you need to come back to me on and ask me for advice on how to do that. Okay. Because I can share with you the expertise and experience of hundreds of agents I've worked with over the years who work like that. Okay. They know exactly how to always get the best price, whatever the market is doing. Okay. So you don't put a price on at valuation. You don't need to, but you can only achieve that if you can actually give confidence. And don't go to them to say, well, we'll put it on all the portals and, we'll get lots of inquiries and then we'll get a big price. No, that is just amateur night. It's what all crap estate agents say. And it's just revealing the fact that you don't know what your job is. Okay, because if you're an agent that thinks, well, we just put it on the portals because they get millions and millions of views a month, and so you're going to get loads of inquiries, you're displaying naivety, inexperience, and a lack of skill that any vendor should just run away from. Okay, a really experienced agent and a really professional, not even that experienced, but just professional one that knows how to do it will say, I will do step 1, I will do step 2, I will do step 3, I will do step 4. And these steps will, without fail, discover what the maximum price we can get for your property in this market is. Okay, so do not give a price at the valuation. Now, if you might say, well, hang on, Charlie, the vendor's asking me for a price. I would resist giving them a number and say, look, any agent that's giving you a number is guessing. They're making it up. They are plucking it out of midair. And if you watch that video I just referred to, you'll see it's the case. They're just going, well, this much, 280, 285, 290. They are fucking guessing, right? They are just guessing. And that's what you need to say to clients, like to the vendors. Any agent putting a number on it is guessing it. They're saying what they think you want to hear so that you'll go with them. And the truth is, until they get the offers coming in, no one knows what's going to get for your house, including me, the agent that you should choose. But I am the one telling you exactly how we go about finding that best price in a short space of time. So that is pricing at the MA, at the valuation appointment. Okay. You just don't. You don't price there if you can avoid it. I mean, if they push you and say, well, look, I really want to know that we can get at least this much. Again, you can say, we should comfortably exceed that if we follow my process. That's what a vendor's going to love to hear. And they're going to appreciate the honesty as well. Someone saying, I'm not going to just pluck a figure out of my arse and tell you that that's what your house is worth, which is what so many agents do. If you are a super qualified RICS certified lender and you actually can put a number on it that you know, of course, then it's a bit of a different situation. But what I tend to find is in those scenarios, because you're a professional qualified valuer, you won't have the highest valuation and you're going to be up against the same problem, which is, well, so-and-so's agent said they think they can get this much. To which I would just say, why didn't you go with them then? If you're that easily swayed by price, if you're just going to go with the agent that gives you the biggest price, then that's what you should do, and come back to me when it's all gone wrong. So that's pricing number one, pricing at valuation. Now, when you get the instruction, the pricing when you go to market with that instruction is critical. And in a falling market, in fact, in any market, but especially in a falling market, very simply make sure it looks like it is the keenest priced property of its kind in the area. That is how you will get offers over asking price in a falling market. Look for all of the equivalent properties that are out there on the market right now, the closest ones, the most comparable closest ones, and make sure you price your client's property below that, just below that price. So if the others are all 250, 255, 260, 265, and none of them are selling, go in at 235, 240. Okay? Because there are buyers out there, always. And if you've got even two competing funded buyers, you will find out what that's worth if you are skillful enough to know how to make sure that those are genuine offers, genuine buyers, so you haven't got to bullshit them and say, oh, we've got lots of offers, when you haven't, because people can see through it. People know when they're being lied to, and people know when they're not being lied to. So if you can be honest about the offers and say, I've got this buyer, they're an investor, or they're a home buyer, or they're a first-time buyer, or they're a downsizer, and they're moving from this, and you tell the story of the other offers, then the other buyers will believe you and go, okay, you have got other offers on this property, and yeah, okay, I do want to bid up. And you can start saying, that's not high enough, I've got other offers, I'm looking to get the best offer by the end of the week. Competing buyers is how you get the best price. Okay. And if your client needs to be sold, and by the way, you don't want to be listing properties of clients who don't need to sell. If they're people who go, well, I want to sell, but if I get that price, give them to another agent, because they will waste your fucking time. They will waste your fucking time. And you'll just have to spend ages talking them down, and you don't want those agents. Let those sellers go and waste another agent's time. Okay. If you want to survive, just say to the sellers, I'm really sorry. I do not have the time to spend marketing unrealistically priced properties. This is the reason why I think that price is unrealistic. Explain your reasons. So I can't do it. I will only commit my time because I don't get paid unless I sell your house. Therefore, my time is at risk. I am not prepared to risk my time selling your house if I'm not sure that you are committed to selling. Yeah, I need to know that you need to sell, and I need to know that if you're buying somewhere else, you're being realistic about that as well, because I do not have time to waste on sellers who are not in touch with reality, because it'll end up being a waste of my time. You know, that exudes such confidence if you say that to a seller. It's going to make a seller want to go, if they really do want to sell, okay, thank you. I'm feeling like you really know what you're talking about, and I'm happy to just trust you and let you do it the way you want to do it. That's what anyone that's hiring a professional wants. You want someone that sounds so authoritative and confident in what they're doing that you can just go, oh, as the seller, and go, I've got someone that's going to take care of it. They know what they're doing. They're not some joker that's just going to sign me up to a long sole agency contract and then leave me high and dry. Okay, so that is the pricing of your listings when you launch them. That's the second thing of pricing. So the third pricing, can you guess? Can you guess what it is yet? Is your fee. If you've done the knowing your metrics thing and you've worked out what your minimum fee needs to be in this market going into falling transactions, you mustn't waver from that fee. You must work out what it is, your minimum fee, and say, this is my fee. And if they say someone else is doing it cheaper, say, if you think they're a better agent than me, then go with them. If you think they're a cheaper agent than me, that's not a reason to go with them. I charge this fee because I am better, and I've explained my reasons why. So I'm afraid, I'm sorry. And of course, they're going to get confidence that you know how to negotiate. If you go in there going, oh, well, I'll do it cheaper than them, or cheaper than them, or cheaper than them, they're going to do that when they're selling your house. That's not what you want, is it? You don't want someone who doesn't know how to negotiate their fee selling your house if you're a vendor. So if you're an agent, is my connection slow? Is my connection okay? Could someone just let me know if my connection's come back? Yeah, it looks okay now. Okay, looks okay. So if you're an agent who knows how to price correctly, if you're an agent who knows how much work is involved, by the way, let me just show you how much work is involved. For those of you who haven't seen this diagram, there is a link to it in the description below. Let's just remind everyone how much work is involved selling a house, right? This is a diagram of all the steps involved in selling a house. I urge you to click the link below if you're an agent, download that diagram and use it when you're pitching to defend. Use this diagram to explain, look, it's not just chucking it on the portals and waiting for inquiries. Look at how much work is involved. And the number of people who've seen this and have given the feedback of, God, actually, that's a lot of work. That is a lot of work. So please go down to the description below this link, below this video, click on the link about the diagram, download that, go to a webpage. You can download it in PDF, you can download it as an image. Use that to help explain why you charge what you charge. All right. Let's go back to the presentation. So do not price a client's property on the valuation. Do price it correctly just below the market when you launch it, and price your fee at a level where even if it's going to be really hard work, the fee makes you feel that it's worthwhile. Okay? Don't price it at a fee that you think the vendor wants to hear. Price it at the fee that makes you happy to take on that instruction because you know you've got a really good chance of selling it. In this market, if I was a competent agent that knew what I was doing and I could convey that in a valuation, I would be saying, right now it's 2%, 2% including VAT. That's what I charge because it's tough as hell. Look at how much stuff is sitting on. Look at all your neighbors' properties sitting on the market, not selling. Look at all the press that's talking about there's a frozen housing market. Getting houses sold right now is harder than it's been for 15 years. My fee is 2%. I will get you sold. My fee is 2%. If you want to risk saving 0.5% or a bit by going to a cheaper agent, and in doing so risk your sale, well, I think you've got your priorities back to front, because what's more important, saving a bit of money or moving house? I'll get you moved. Stick to your guns. And honestly, I would be going for 2% including VAT. That's what I'd be going for. Minimum 1.5% including VAT. Minimum. Because if you get it done, you're worth every penny of that. Every penny. Now, the last thing on pricing is the pricing of your outgoings, your costs, your expenditure. Now, there are going to be different kinds of agents watching this. There'll be self-employed agents, there'll be business owners, there'll be branch managers, but anyone that has any, what's the word I'm looking for? Any discretion over what your outgoings are, you need to address them. You need to sit down with them. You need to write down line by line every single one of your outgoings and go, which of these is critical and essential to me performing my task and function? Okay. And consider eliminating them and start with the biggest ones, whatever the biggest ones are. Consider, because, you know, it makes sense, doesn't it? Start with the biggest ones. Do I need that? Do I really need that? How much easier will it make my life to not have to meet that outgoing every month? And look at your costs. Now, there's always difficult decisions here, okay, guys, but you can't help anyone else if you aren't okay. You can't help your staff or your customers if you don't exist because your business has gone under. And if you're watching this, I'm assuming it's because you are a bit worried about what's happening this year, and therefore you want to make sure that you survive. And therefore you've got to be ruthless with your pricing in these times. All right. Now, when I say ruthless, I do not mean putting your suppliers out of business. That is counterproductive. Don't batter them over the head so hard on price that they then can't survive, and then you lose a supplier product that's important to you. But you should go to the ones where you know that they can actually afford a reduction and ask them for it, or consider then walking away from it. And I know that there'll be agents watching this considering going it alone and just doing it on their own completely. That's also a very good way of, if you think you can survive in the short term, that might reduce your outgoings. I don't know. But it's worth considering. Okay. And I'm going to repeat something I said earlier on, and this pricing thing. The pricing of your existing listings. If you have got property on your books at a price that you know isn't attracting any buyers, and therefore is wasting your time talking to the client about it, wasting your time by having to try and get people to buy it that you know that the seller's not going to take. If you know what I'm talking about, the listings aren't going to sell, right? One of the very first things that I would do out of everything on this list that I'm talking about today is I would be firing clients that weren't prepared to drop their price to a price that I know I can get interest at. Now, if that's difficult because you advise them on price to begin with, I would, this is what I would say. I would say, hello client, hello vendor. I need to have a little difficult conversation with you because I know I advised you on price and I know I told you that this would be a good price to start at, but I was wrong and I underestimated what's happened in the market. It's caught everybody by surprise. I apologize for being wrong about that, but I was wrong. And I can no longer keep your property on my books at that price because it's making me look like I can't do my job. And yes, I accept responsibility if I advised you on that price, but we are where we are now and we've got to revisit it. So I've worked out the price I would like to ask you to lower it to in order to get the interest that I know we need to get it sold. You need to have a think about whether you're prepared to lower it to that price or not, so that I can lower the price and get on with selling it. And if there's any doubt about that, then with the greatest of respect and with deepest apologies, I need to ask you to find another agent because I cannot afford to be spending time marketing a property that I know I can't sell. If they're tied into a sole agency contract with you, you should release them from it. And if they're not, you should say, take your time to think about it, give them a reasonable amount of time, but say, within the next few days, I need to drop the price of your property because the longer we wait, the worse it's getting, the harder it's going to be. Okay. So I need to drop your property's price to this price within 3 days, 4 days, a week, whatever you want to decide. Please give me your decision within that time frame, if not sooner. Give them time to get over the shock. It will be a shock to some vendors when you say that to them, but you do not want them sitting on your shelf, gathering dust, taking up your time when they ring you saying, why is anything happening? You just don't want that. It's demoralizing. It's a waste of your time. You don't want unrealistic sellers on your books or uncommitted sellers on your books. You just don't want them, right? In a climbing market, it might be different, but in this falling market, you don't want them. You just don't want them. So you need to say to them, I'm just be upfront and apologize. Say, I'm sorry that I put such a high value on your house. I got it wrong. We are where we are now. Can you please drop your price and agree to it? Because what you're forcing them to do is you're forcing them to confront a decision that they don't want to make, which is, are we prepared to accept that our house is not worth what we hoped or not? You got to give them time. And it might be worth leaving them a voicemail with that message so that they can listen to it back or WhatsApp audio or however you communicate with your clients. Give them time. Give them a good 2 to 3 days. Okay? Because coming to terms with that change for them might have massive ramifications for their life and they may need to discuss it with family members or whatever else. So just give them the time. Give them the courtesy of the time to come to that decision. But you need to say to them, I'm really sorry. I will need a decision within 7 days. 7 days is more than reasonable. I mean, if they turn around and say, look, can we please have 10 days? Then it means that they are going to consider it, but they need more time. Obviously, that's not an unreasonable thing to do. I need to tell you that. So, yeah, the pricing of your listings. So, pricing and the valuation, pricing of launch, pricing of your fee, pricing of your costs, and pricing of your existing listings that needs to come down. You address all 5 of those things, you will transform your chances of surviving this market. Okay, guys. So if there are any questions, now's the time. If you're watching this live, please ask in the live chat. If you're watching this back on the replay later, please ask the questions in the comments below. I will get to those, or contact me privately. I've linked to this presentation below. There's a live online version of this presentation you can see, and in that presentation, you can download it if you want, download a copy of it for yourself. But you can click on the links in there to all of the things that I've referred to. There's a link to that story about the Apple Steve Jobs story. There's a link to the Confronting the Brutal Facts. There's a link to Best Agent. There's a link to my LinkedIn profile on the first slide. But here's a quick recap of everything I've said. Okay, I won't read it out. You can see that for yourself. I'll just read out the first words. So number 1, calculate your worst case scenario. Number 2, decide. You stay on going. Number 3, protect your time. Number 4, focus and simplify, and focus on deals first. Right, getting deals over the line is a more important thing than chasing up offers and viewings. Number 5, pricing, and follow me on Twitter, Best Agent Boss, which is where I talk to estate agents on Twitter. Okay. And last of all, I would like to just answer the question for those of you who are wondering about what is Best Agent anyway. Okay, I won't read it out. It's in the description there. It's in the presentation there. But in a nutshell, it's a way for movers and good agents to take control of their future and pull the control of the industry away from all the big companies with the vested interests, still allow them to participate, but on the same terms as everybody else, and to finally break the deadlock of a terrible experience for movers and a terrible experience for a lot of agents, because the game is toxic and I want to change it. The lead gen industry is leading to good agents not getting the business they deserve, because bad agents are getting business just because of lead gen, not because they're good agents. Best Agent is here to change that. And so I'd like to ask you, if you haven't already, to join Best Agent. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, because everything I put out on this channel is intended solely for UK residential estate agents. Activate your back office account, right? That is a free thing to do. You can go to bestagent.co.uk and just click I'm an agent, and it'll take you where you need to go. But by activating your back office account, you will start to receive applicant leads and vendor leads. Now, it costs nothing to activate. It costs nothing to sign up and join. And then each lead that comes through, you can choose if you want to respond to or not. Okay, so it's a completely new way of connecting movers and agents. And I hope you do decide to join up, especially if you're an agent that has a good attitude towards the customers. Otherwise, guys, I would like to thank you all very much for your time, because I know how important and valuable it is. I hope this has been a worthwhile use of your time. Please let me know, give me feedback. Contact me if I can help. Let me know if you thought this was a good idea. I would love your feedback on this. Let me know if it was helpful, yes or no. And if you don't want to do it publicly, please let me know privately. Would you like more of these kind of 1-hour seminars? For example, on how to pitch a valuation. For example, on improving your workflow in the office in a way that costs no money and is just a smart use of time. Let me know. I've got a huge amount of wisdom to share from over the years. But other than that, it's time for me to wrap this video up. So thank you very much for your time. To wish you all the best. To remind you that positivity without a plan is just hope. You need to have a plan, and that you've got to confront the reality to make a good plan. Plan for the worst, hope for the best, and I hope to meet you all one day soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.